would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and your DOC number, please.
I'm Freddie May Howard, DOC number 179823.
All right, and let's see, you've been through this process before, so you know how it works. Ms. Howard, you're classified as a 7th felony offender. You're currently serving a 12-year sentence as a habitual offender for distribution of cocaine. Your parole eligibility date was September 27, 2021. You have a good time date, October 2nd, 2029, and your full term date is September 27, 2030. Does all that sound correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, your case has been assigned to Mrs. Jackson. Would you answer her questions?
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, Ms. Howard. How are you today?
I'm fine. Thank you.
That's good. You're 58 years old,
Yes, ma'am.
and how long have you been incarcerated on this charge?
4 years and 10 months.
It was a distribution of cocaine where you were treated as a habitual offender and you received a 12-year sentence. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you actually appeared before the board on November 30th of 21, and you were denied on that date. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So tell us what you've done since you were denied on November 30th, 2021. What did you do after that?
Yes, ma'am. Well, I enrolled in the risk management, which is a 12-step program. And I was in there for 6 months. It was a 6 months program. And
When was that? What time period did that cover?
that was in December the 6th of 21, and I finished in August of 22.
Okay. Well, that's a little longer than 6 months.
Well, it was like during the COVID time, and there were days off, and it was some absent days, and we had to make up for those days that we missed.
Well, let's talk a little bit about you as a person before we get into what you've done during your incarceration. How many children do you have?
9.
And what are their ages?
They are, my oldest is 39, and my baby is 15.
Okay, and how many do you have under the age of 18?
2,
And what age is the other one?
17 and 15.
And where those two living? Who you taking care of them?
They're my aunt, my sister, and my son lived with his aunt, his father's sister.
Okay. Obviously, Ms. Howard, you have a long history of substance abuse issues. Is that correct?
Very much.
When did you first start using drugs?
I started smoking marijuana, which is a gateway drug, at age 16, and at age 19, I started using cocaine.
Why'd you do that?
Well, I was troubled. I was going through some grief, and I was just hanging out with the wrong people, and was just doing anything and everything that I thought that I was, that I could do and get away with it.
Why were you having so many children? Given your addiction and your inability to take care of yourself, why were you having so many kids?
Well, I guess I was just blessed with him. I didn't get my tubes tied, and I would get out, why was I having too
But
much?
you don't have to, getting your tube tied is the only form of birth control.
No, it wasn't.
And I bet during that time, other family members were having to take care of the children.
Yes, ma'am. My family have supported me all my life.
And I'm talking about your children.
My children also.
How do you feel about the fact that your children had to be raised by other people because of your choices to become involved in drugs?
Well, I'm very much appreciate my family, and I feel like they was the next, because I was sick, I wasn't able to take care of my kids. I was an addict, and I
Let me
I-
ask you, how do you think it impacted their lives to have to take care of your children?
well,
Did you ever think about that? How having to raise your children impacted their lives? They did it because they had no other choice, but how do you think that impacted your life?
how do I think that impacted their lives?
Mhm.
Well, I'm sure at some point they got tired. I mean, but out of their love for me, they
You
stepped
make it, okay, so it's like, okay, they did this because they love me, but you don't have any understanding of the burden you put on them, the financial burden, just the, stress of having to raise a bunch of kids. Like you think, oh, well, they should do that because they love me. And I don't see that you're taking any ownership, that you've made some decisions that not only have affected you, but have affected 9 other human beings, as well as your family members.
Well, I mean, they know that I was in my addiction, and
Act like that's something like, oh, I was in my
I'm
addiction.
not proud of that. No, ma'am, I'm not. But at that time, I was sick and I was confused and I was troubled,
Why
and
were you so troubled? Why were you so troubled? Troubled
because
about,
I was involved, excuse me, I was involved in relationships, bad relationships that I shouldn't have been in.
did you graduate from high school?
No, ma'am.
How far did you go in high school?
The 9th grade.
And did you get pregnant around that time? Is that why you stopped going to school?
No, I can't say I did. No, I got pregnant when I was 20. My first
Why'd you-
child.
Why'd you stop going to school in the 9th grade?
I guess I was just running wild. I mean, to be honest with you,
Who
I was,
lived-
ma'am,
who were you living with?
my mother.
And in the 9th grade, I can't imagine you were in these relationships that were bad, not in the 9th grade. So I'm trying to get you to get to the root of why you've made so many bad choices your whole life. And part of being able to rectify that is to understand yourself, understand why you made those mistakes, so that you know how to avoid making those mistakes in the future. Because, quite frankly, you're a 7th offender. And so you continue to engage in criminal activity. I'm sure you've gone to jail multiple times, and every time you get out of jail, you go right back to the same kind of behavior. And what I'm trying to learn is, have you gained any real understanding of why you continue to make that decision? Because if you haven't figured that out, then you're not going to break that cycle. Now, why is it in the 9th grade you decided you didn't want to go to school?
Well, I was, like I say, that I was involved with older people and they were using drugs, and I got on drugs, and I went through, I was raped, and I was
How
just.
were you when you were, you say that you were sexually assaulted? How old were you when that happened?
14.
Okay, was it ever reported to law enforcement?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so you stopped going to school in the 9th grade. You obviously weren't old enough to work, so what did you do after you dropped out?
I hung around with people, bad people who I shouldn't have been with. I made bad choices.
Why did you choose those people? That's what I'm trying to get you to see. Why did you choose those people? Because I'm sure there were other people who were doing positive things. So why did you choose those people? Because everything is a choice. So why did you make those choices?
Well, I guess some of the choices were, I was, it could have been peer pressure, or I was just going with the people, going with the crowd, that just going with the party, to be honest with you.
Okay, so why should I think anything has changed? You liked that life. That's why you stayed in it. So why should I think that it's going to be any different when I look at your history and I see this pattern over and over and over and over and over again?
Well, because for one, I'm older now and I've totally surrendered.
No, let's stop right there. You have only been in prison less than 5 years, so you were in your early 50s, mid to early 50s, when you got this charge. So you weren't young.
No.
Okay.
But I was actively in my addiction then. Now,
What kind of treatment did you seek for your addiction before you came to prison?
before I came to prison,
Mhm.
I went to this place called the Green Door. I went to meetings at times. I went to meetings.
No, let's. Okay, you recognize you had an addiction,
Yes,
but you didn't see, but you weren't motivated even by the fact that you had all those kids. You weren't motivated to do something to help yourself. And I'm sure at some point during your previous criminal incidents, you were ordered to go through substance abuse treatment, correct?
yes, ma'am.
Did you ever complete a single substance abuse program?
Yes, ma'am.
Which one?
Celebrate Recovery
When did you do that?
at LTCW.
I'm talking about, and how long ago was that?
When was that? In 20 and
I'm talking about before you came to prison this time. I'm sure you were ordered as a condition of probation or a condition of parole to enroll in some substance abuse program. And my question is, did you finish any of the programs that you were ordered to complete either on parole or probation?
I finished a 6-month class at IOP in St. Tammany Parish. I finished that, but I wasn't on parole when I caught this charge here, so I was not ordered to go.
Well, again, if you knew you had an addiction, nobody should have to order you to go anywhere. You should want to do that for yourself.
That is correct. Yes, ma'am.
You know, we have people who are in jail and they want to present well and, you know, they want to say all the right things. And this is not your first time being in jail. It's not the first time you've been paroled. And yet you continue to engage in the same behavior. And I'm trying to get a sense from you. You know, it's almost like you're saying, well, I was in my addiction, as if that's something that you, well, that's an excuse. I was in my addiction. And that's what it sounds like to me. So tell me why I should think things would be any different if you're released early this time.
If I'm released early, ma'am, I would be involved in a church community in my 12-step program, and I would be submitted
But why should I believe that?
because I've enrolled in a 1-year faith-based program at in Monroe, Louisiana. And there I will be going to 90 days, 90 meetings. I will have a sponsor. I will
You're missing my point. How do I know that you're gonna follow through with it?
How do you know?
Mhm.
Well, if you would like to, you can contact the facility.
I'm not saying those things aren't in place, but that doesn't mean you're gonna follow through. It doesn't.
Oh, I will, I vow to follow through.
Convince me of that, because I don't have a reason to believe you. Convince me of it. Tell me why I should believe that this time things are gonna be different.
Because I have turned my life and my will over to the care of God, and with God, I can succeed and become a productive and positive citizen.
You know, it would have been nice to hear I'm sick of being a drug addict. No, I'm telling you what to say now. That's not what you said. Yeah, I regret that I have not been a good mother to my children. I regret that I have put the burden of raising my children on other people. And I'm just tired of this life, and I didn't hear that from you. I hear probably what you said at every other parole hearing you had. And yet here we are, back again. So what program, well, let's talk about risk management 1 and 2. Tell me about that.
The risk management, I did that in 21 and the beginning of 22. And what you want to know, are you asking me what did I get out of risk management?
Absolutely.
Okay. I would say I got out of risk management that I could succeed if I put forth my effort and would put all my energy into staying clean and sober by following the 12-step program.
Okay, so how do you do that? Tell me what the steps are. Tell me what you have to do.
First, I have to admit that I'm powerless over my addiction and that I cannot do it alone without the help from God. And I have to seek counsel every day and have someone to support me and have accountability and give an accountability for my actions. And it also teaches that I should respect others and ask for forgiveness and to promptly admit when I'm wrong and be willing and be honest and have acceptance and be able to accept things as they are and not what I think they should be.
So have you done any of those things?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me the steps that you've done already.
Well, I made, I did a personal inventory and I looked at all my character defects and my selfishness and my, me being dishonest, all the lying and scheming and it teaches me that I need to put away the con game and not, you know, minimize and have poor impulse control, which is one of my character defects. It's like, self-will runs riot sometime, and it teaches me that I need to go back and analyze my situations and make better choices.
Okay. So what better choices do you think you need to make going forward?
To go forward, I think the first choice would be is to do something that I've never done before, and that is to change my people, places, and things.
Okay, and why do you think you never did that?
Because the only time I ever went away from my house was to go to jail, and going to this 12-year, this faith-based program, I will be surrounded by people that are sick like myself.
You went a lot of places from your house. You went to the places where you were buying drugs. You went to the places where you were hanging out with the wrong crowd. They didn't come to your house, you do all that. You went to where they were.
Yes, ma'am.
See, I still feel like it's not being honest with yourself.
Oh, man, my recovery, I am being honest. I don't mean to sound defensive, but I know that I'm still sick, and that it's gonna be all the time. I mean, it's gonna take every day of my life to be in sobriety, to be in recovery in order to recover.
But you know, sobriety is hard. Recovery is hard. And in the past, you haven't been willing to do hard things. You haven't been willing to stay in school. You haven't been willing to raise all those kids that you brought into the world. So you haven't had a history of being able to do the hard things.
Right. Correct. Well, that's why that is my past. That's my history. My plan is to go forward, and succeed.
How though? I want to hear concrete steps. You have to have, to get to a goal, you have to have steps that will take you there. I want to hear your steps.
Well, the first step will be to have a job. I have a job that's waiting on me at the Kingdom Recovery, and to work my steps daily and stay tuned and connected to my higher power.
That's it, just get a job. And how do you stay connected to a higher power? I hear people say that. What does that mean?
Read my daily devotions, go out, hang out with people, go in the rooms and listen and sit and engage and with people who are clean and sober, and who are on the same road, traveling the same road, and who've been down the journey that I'm attempting to.
Where would you live?
I'm sorry.
Where would you live?
Where would I live?
Mhm.
I would live at the faith-based house in Monroe at the Kingdom Recovery.
For how long?
It's a 12-month, 6 months to 12-month program year.
How long do you think you would stay there?
Well, I would start with the 12 months.
And then what?
And then I would be able to I would be able to go home or go wherever I choose to go.
Where's home?
In Covington, Louisiana.
Okay, so is that your plan? You said wherever you choose to go, or where do you think you choose to go?
Where would I choose to go? I would go to my family.
And who would you live with there?
I would live with my sister, or maybe I could get my own apartment.
Who's in the room with you? Is there a prison official in the room with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, can you tell us anything? What do you know about Miss Howard?
I've never had her in any classes that I've taught, but I do know that she was active in the classes that she attended.
What classes do you teach?
I don't teach any. I don't teach any now, but at one time I was teaching MRT and the short-term substance abuse and reentry.
What other substance abuse programs do you offer there besides risk management 1 and 2?
We have living in balance as well. That's considered a substance abuse class.
Have you taken living in balance?
Yes, she's taking living in balance 1 and 2, both phases. And 3, yeah.
Okay, and any other? Those are the only substance abuse classes you have there?
Yes, ma'am.
What you get out of living in balance, Ms. Howard?
I got living in balance. We worked on being trustworthy and sexuality and learning how to cope with let's see, conflict, stressors. Dealing with relationships.
All I have to know.
All right, we have some folks who joined us who would like to speak on behalf of Ms. Howard. We have her son, Ryan Brown. Ryan, could we hear from you now? You muted.
Ma'am,
Excuse me, can you hear me?
Yes.
How y'all doing today?
Good.
I just want to say that I've been going through this with my mom. I'm 37 now. Really, all my life. I believe I was maybe 5 years old, and my grandmother, she raised me. She's my legal guardian. She adopted me. But other than jail, I've been knowing my mom, and she's a real, how can I put it? She got a lot of life in her. She's 58. I could literally say I've seen her mature in the last maybe 4 or 5 years since she's been in jail. Like I said, this is not our first rodeo. Usually when I speak to her from jail, she got a lot of play in her. This last time right here, like I could see the maturity in her. It's not when she calls, it's not anymore, hey son, what's going on out there? Or any of that. That's really not her concern, as far as I can see. I don't think that she wants to come out here and indulge back in the world that she was in. And like I said, I knew my mom on both sides. Like, I've been in trouble before too. And I've been in the world with her, if I could say that and such. And I mean, I've changed my life. If I can change, I know she could change. She said she want to change. I mean, I ain't good at this. I get nervous, but like I said, I feel like she's matured a lot. I know 7 convictions is a lot. That's a long time, and like you say, she's not young. She's not young by far, but I think she's ready to come raise the 2 kids that she have left, or possibly help grandkids. I mean, we totally gonna support her. I mean, we hear she has a support system, that's for sure. Every time, she just gotta want to do it herself. That's really all I have to say. I don't really know. I don't really know what to say. You know.
Well, you did a good job, and we appreciate you speaking with us this morning. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we have Robin Jackson, Ms. Howard's sister. Ms. Jackson? You're on mute.
Mhm.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm Robin Jackson. I'm Freddie May's sister. Me and her, we're a year apart, so we were always together until, I guess, until like 9th, 10th grade. We started separating because of choices that she made. But I do feel like for the first time that I think that she might come home and do right, because she doesn't want to just come home right now. Every time she got ready for parole, she was like, I'm getting out, I'm getting out. And when she told me she chose to go to a program for a year before she come home, I just felt like that was growth. And I did raise one of her daughters, and a sister, my other sister raised another 2 of her daughters in Northern Virginia, and they all grew up together. They all they worked for the government. They went to college. We did the best we can do for all of her kids, not to just to not separate them. And all of them know her as their mother. And like my nephew said, she's always had a support system. And I even let her know that she could come and stay with me when she gets out of the 12-month program. I live in Slidell. I work for FedEx. I've been here 26 years. I'm getting ready to retire. I want to do whatever I can to help her, to better her situation and to put her in a better place to live. I haven't lived here too long. I lived in Northern Virginia, but I'm here now. She could stay with me. She doesn't have to go back to the same place that she keeps going back to. You know, you kind of live what you see daily. And if I can get her out of that, I'm willing to do it. My mother always felt like she was worth keeping. And so we have always kept her. And I just feel in my heart that she's ready this time.
Good. Well, thank you. She's fortunate to have your support.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Howard, is there something you'd like to say to us before we vote?
Yes, ma'am. It is my prayer that you would grant me my parole today so that I can have another chance to go out and do something that I've never done before, and that's succeed and to stay clean and to stay sober and to work. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
All right. Ms. Jones,
Yes, ma'am.
do y'all offer victim awareness there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay.
We're ready to vote, Mrs. Jackson.
You know, Ms. Howard, you know, this is hard. It really is. And I hope as you listen to your son, as you listen to your sister, you know, their hopes have been dashed time and time again by your failure to do what you needed to do for them. You know, there's only so many times you can disappoint people before they just can't deal with it anymore. I have serious concerns about you. You know, they hear, you know, one thing, they hear improvement, but I hear somebody that still has some work to do. I do. I wish I had a better feeling about you, but quite frankly, I don't. I don't. But, you know, I'm willing to take a chance on you, but I will grant your request for an early release, but only after you have taken victim awareness. Because you really need to understand how your actions have victimized everybody in your life. You created a whole trail of victims by your choices. And you need to learn and understand that your addiction isn't just about you. It's about those kids who grew up without a mom. It's about your siblings and your mom who had to take on the responsibility that, you know, you should have been shouldering. You need to understand how your choices affect other people. And so my vote is to grant your early release after completion of living in balance. And then upon release, you are, what's the name of the program in Monroe?
Ma'am, excuse me, she's already completed living in balance.
No, I meant victim awareness. I'm sorry, victim awareness. So after she completed victim awareness, And then once she's released, what's the name of the place in Monroe?
P31,
Say it again. Come back closer to the microphone. I couldn't hear
P31, Proverbs 31.
you. Okay. Okay, upon release, you are to immediately report to P31 and stay there for a minimum of 1 year. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
And then upon completion of P31, you are to attend at least 2 AA or NA meetings per week for the duration of your supervision.
Thank you.
Ms. Jones, do you have any documentation that P31 has or will accept her?
yes, ma'am. She emailed me yesterday evening.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Freeman.
Okay, I'm kind of like Judge Jackson. I see your family support, and I think your family support is super, but it's not your family that's gonna be on supervision, it's you. And I just don't feel it, due to a poor criminal record and supervision record, my vote is to deny.
And Ms. Howard, I saw you last time you were up and I voted for you then. I vote for you now again for the same reasons I told you back then. However, in your case, as then, you require a unanimous vote, I believe. You don't qualify for the 2/3 vote. Because you don't have your GED and because you don't have a low risk score. So today your parole's been denied. You've got some work to do. Take Mrs. Jackson's remarks to heart and do the victim awareness, but you got a little more work to do. Good luck to you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown and Ms. Jackson, for participating today.
Thank you.